Hi everyone, and nice to meet you all. So today I will talking about, let me tell you a real story about our mobile CI/CD. At the beginning, I need to say thank you for SOS conference or SOS Lab for giving me this opportunity, and thank you for all of us, or all of you, sorry, for attending my session. So I will start by sharing my screen, and we will directly start. So just confirm me that you can see my presentation now, or my desktop. Okay, great. So let's start. Oh, oh. Okay, so today we will talking about, let me tell you a story or a real story about our mobile CI/CD. So we will go through our story, our plan, and the implementation behind our mobile CI/CD, and what the learn or what the lessons that we learned from this opportunity or from this journey during 1 year and a half. So my name is Moataz Nabil. I'm currently working as a senior test automation engineer or software engineer in test at Delivery Hero in Berlin in Germany. So at the beginning, I will talking about a little bit information about Delivery Hero in 10 numbers. So Delivery Hero is like a global leader or a global leader for food delivery or ordering in the world, and it's founded in 2011. And now we are in 44 countries. And in 2019, we ordered more than 600 million orders from 5,000 restaurants all over the world. And we are now in 36 countries with 26 brands, because like Delivery Hero, it's like a big entity. We have under this entity, we have different entities and different food delivery applications. And also we reach to more than 1,600 orders per minute. And we are now, I think this number also is changed. We are almost 30,000 of employees globally, and we listed the company since 13th of June in 2017. And the revenue growth in quarter four in 2019, more than 177%. So this is like a little information about Delivery Hero. So we are focusing more in food delivery. And this is a little information about me. So I'm working as a senior software engineer in test at Delivery Hero, or test automation engineer, because you will find that it's a mixed role between designing the infrastructure for test automation and also writing test automation scripts and so on. I worked before in different business domain like agriculture, telecom, healthcare, fashion, and now I'm working on a food delivery. I designed different test automation frameworks for web, mobile, and API using different set of tools and the languages. And I participated and implemented different CI/CD pipeline for web and the mobile, also using GitLab, Bitbucket, Bitrise, and the Jenkins CI. So at the beginning, we will talking, because we are talking about a story, so we will talking about chapters inside this story. So we have 3 chapters inside our story: the history, the plan, and the journey. So we will start with the history to know what the problem that we had before, and what the plans that we did to solve these problems, and what the journey to reach our goal or to solve these problems. So the history. So we started in 2019. This is like we started refactoring our test automation. Before 2019, we had like obsolete frameworks, obsolete implementations, and we have different issues. But we start refactoring and we start implementing new workflows and new test automation frameworks from 2019. And we have one code base, and from this one code base, we have 4 brands. So we mainly it's 4 applications from one code base. So we deploy 4 applications or 4 mobile food delivery applications from one code base. And we are serving in more than 90 countries. We have 2 platforms, or we have 2 applications, Android and iOS, and it's a native applications and not hybrid. And we are almost now like about more than 50 engineers working in different squads and tribes, because we are like using or applying in our team the Spotify model. So we are we having vertical squads using a different or working in different features. and this squads under tribes. So we have more than 14 squads working in or splitting on 4 tribes. So mostly 15 engineers or 50 engineers are working with these squads, and we have also the engineers here is mixed between test automations and mobile for Android and iOS. And also we need to scale more, because that we start thinking about how we can revamp our solution and our implementation, because it doesn't fit in our scaling and our future plan, because that we have obsolete frameworks and it's become obsolete and we can't working with that anymore. So we need to figure out how we can solve these problems, and the toolings that we are using are not fit in our future plan, because we are scaling and our current implementation or the current implementation at this time not fitting anymore in our future plans. And we have life issues. Sometimes you have life issues like any application. So in the application, so we have life issues because after we have or the test automation became obsolete, so we start to rely or depends on the manual testing, and sometimes we don't cover all the scenarios in the test scenarios. So we have life issues like any application. So we need also to figure out how we can like reduce the number of life issues as much as we can. And we have inflexible CI and the configuration. So we have fragile environment. Sometimes we have problems in configurations. We have problem in devices. So we are working in local devices connected to our existing CI, and sometimes we lose the connection. Sometimes we need to open the VPN between the device and the machines and so on. So we have inflexible CI and the fragile configuration. So we need also to figure out how we can do or how we can solve these problems. And there's a big problem in our case at this time that we are releasing every 1 month, and you can imagine that if you have different competitors in the market, and you need to think about we need to deliver in short time, or we need to deliver quickly, but also we need to think about we need to deliver as much as possible, but we need to deliver with quality. It's not about the speed only, but we need to deliver with quality, because that we start thinking about how we can revamp our solution. And the shipping code or deploying the application was painful process, because it wasn't through any pipelines. It's something like manual effort. We have already a script, but we are using manual efforts that one engineer or one release engineer need to go to this script and run the script to deploy the application. So this is the history behind our implementation, or this is a starter point from what we will start in our journey or our plan. So after we get the knowledge or get the info or address our problems, so what we need now to solve these problems? So we start to agree about that we need to adapt mobile DevOps. So there is no any reason to not using it. We need to start thinking about mobile DevOps, and this is a team decision, and we need to agree about it, and we need to like align together about this solution. Test automation is a vital part of mobile DevOps. Without test automation, we can't proceed with mobile DevOps, because if we are talking about mobile DevOps, so we are talking about continuous integration and continuous delivery or continuous deployment. How we can deliver our application without validating or verifying that the application or the functions or the core functions are working correctly. So test automation is a vital part of mobile DevOps, and this is the culture. And as a one team, from the developers, the product owners, the designers, and managers, we need to agree about this one. CI/CD or continuous integration, continuous delivery is our new coordination process. So we will start to implement the CI/CD pipeline or workflows, and we start to go through this workflows. And this is an important point, because we start decide or we agree about that we will share the ownership for the test automation. TE here is for stand for test automation scripts. So sharing the TA ownership between the test engineers or test automation engineers and the mobile engineers. What the meaning of this? That the mobile engineers will start writing UI tests for Android and iOS, or for both platforms. So this is the plan, or this is the idea or the agreement. This is like a contract between the test automation and the developers or the mobile engineers. So we need to agree about this, and we will go through our journey or our story with these elements or with these points. Then we will go to the plan. So now we are finishing the history, or we finished the history already, and we will go to the second chapter. This is the plan. So what we need to plan, or what we need to think about to implement our CI/CD, we are putting our plan in 6 points. So we will start to automate our our smoke and end-to-end test suites. So we will agree we already have manual test cases or manual suites in our test case management. For example, we have, maybe we can say, 100 smoke tests, and we have like 200 end-to-end test cases. We need to agree that we need to automate as much as we can, or we need to convert the manual test to be automated in this plan. So we need to agree about that. We will work in this point. And the second point that we need to run. So now we need to choose the right, or like to decide the right decision here, where we can run the smoke test and where or when we can run the end-to-end test. So we decided that we will run the smoke test because this is a smaller suite, but it's smaller than the end-to-end. So we need to run the smaller or the smoke test on every PR or on every pull request. So for every code change, we will run this smoke UI test or the smoke suite. And we will run the end-to-end every day as a nightly build. So just to check with the master branch or with the development branch, our main branch, is that there is no any side effect or there is no any problem or any broken in our application. And run the both suites before and after the releases, just to be confident about the features. And the frequent, regular, or the releases should be decreased from 1 month to 2 weeks, and after that we decided that we go to 1 week. And the last point is that we need to deploy the apps automatically on the Google App Store and the Play Store. So now we have the plan, and we have the history or the problems, and the plan will solve the problems. This is what we believe. And we need now to start our journey, and we need to start in the implementation to know how we will solve these problems with this plan. So now we will go to the third chapter, the journey. So let's go behind the scenes and know what we did or what we implemented in this journey. So in this presentation, I split the journey in 3 phases. So we will start with the beginning phase. This is, maybe we can say it's from almost 1 year and a half. So we will have 3 phases, 6 months, and after that another 6 months, and then plus 1 year, or from 1 year and after that from until this time. And also I split it, what we did in 3 pillars or 3 categories: technology, process, and people. Because I believe that without people, we can't do anything. Without process, we can't deliver anything. And if we have a process and the people, but we don't have latest technologies, or we don't know the right tool that we can use, so also we can't deliver anything. So based on technology and the process and the people, so we can start working with all of them. So the first phase is the beginning phase from 0 to 6 months. This is like initial phase. So we will start with people because this is the more important point in this phases, and after that process and technology. So with the people, we will start with the TA engineers. So TA engineers before this year or before 2019, TA engineers were splitting in squads. So in each squad, you should have 1 mobile engineer for iOS, 1 mobile engineer for Android, 1 QA, because we still have manual testers, and we have 1 test automation engineers. But we figured out that we don't need a TA engineer to be in squad, because we will work, or we will like automate small features in each squad, because at the end, squad is working in 1 screen. You can say 1 screen or 1 feature. So if you wanted to automate this part only, so you will finish your work, and after that you can't do anything, or you will not do anything. So we start from this point, become a centralized team. So we will like bringing all the test automation engineers from the different squads and create 1 centralized team. And this team will serve all the squads and the tribes. So because at the end, you need to automate the end-to-end and the smoke tests. And this is like a user journey test cases, or from A to Z test cases. So we are working with different screens. So there is no any meaning for working in 1 squad. And then we start to implement the mobile test automation framework. So we create one team, or we become one centralized team, and we start to now figure out we need to create mobile test automation frameworks. And in this point, we will go to the technology here, because we need to map the technology and the people and the process together to align or to imagine what we are doing. So here we are using a mobile native tools, or we decided that we will go to Espresso and XCUITest. And maybe someone ask now a question, why we are using Espresso and XCUITest? Because Espresso is Android, is a native tool from Google and for Android application, and XCUITest from Apple and for iOS application. If you remember the first point, that we need to share the responsibility between the TA engineers or test automation engineers and the mobile engineers, because that we need to align with the same tech stack. We need to working with a one code base. We need to working with one project. We need to working with one code review process and everything. For example, you can imagine if you select any open source tool you can imagine, for example, Appium, for example, just for example, and you can imagine that you will ask the iOS engineer that you need to write TA script using Java and Appium. So he will say, no, it's not my responsibility, and I will not learn any new programming language because I'm using Swift or Objective-C. This is a problem, because that if you are thinking about sharing the responsibility, so we need to start working in one thing. So we selected, maybe it wasn't like the easy or the easier decision for the test engineers itself, because it was a challenges that we need to working deeply in the Android and know more about the technologies, how the application is working from behind the scenes, and also for Apple, because Apple, they have different technologies and the different implementations and so on. But this will drive us to reach our goal. So we start implementing our test automation framework using Espresso and XCUITest. Then we started delivering hands-on workshops to our mobile engineers. At the beginning, we started with offline workshops. So like it's one small meeting, we sit together and we start working in one, writing one test script. And after that, the test engineer, the mobile engineers, they know more about the test automation frameworks, how we can writing test script, how we can using a page object model, how can running the test using different parameters and different configuration and so on. And after that, we found that sometimes the mobile engineers, they don't have any times because they are busy in their squads and their features. So we refactor or we revamp these workshops to be online on GitHub, something like GitHub Learning Lab, and it's become one of the most important point in any onboarding session for any newcomer or any new mobile engineers in our team. For example, if you have Android engineers, just start to join or joining our team, and this month he will start with this workshop. And actually we figured out that with this workshop, the mobile engineers became more confident or more or understand more the application and the business behind the application. Because when we are start writing UI test, you are go through all the user journey in the application. For example, in the food delivery, you start application, select the location. After that, you can select your favorite restaurant, select or add your favorite items and put it in the cart. And after that, you can like order or like place the order, and as a checkout, you can check out with credit card, with schedule delivery and everything. So we have different screens and working in one scenario that like end-to-end or a smoke test in both cases. So they rely or they become more confident about the business and know more about the application and start working like easily in their squads. Then we need to convert, after that, we need to convert a simple manual test suites from our test case management tool to be automated scripts. And then in the process that we decided before that we were running the smoke test on every pull request and running a smoke test also, because now we don't have any end-to-end. So we start like step by step to implement our processes or our new workflow. So we just started with a smoke test. So now we are running smoke tests nightly on the master branch just to be confident about the application. And here we replace our existing CI because it was, as we remember, it was fragile and it was like different configurations and a lot of issues in the configurations. And running our UI test cases on cloud devices also, because previously we were running on local devices and also we had problems with this. So we will or we decided that we were running on cloud devices. This is like the beginning phase. Then the mobile engineers, we are here. The mobile engineers partially started in writing TA scripts or TA test cases. So we delivered to them workshops. We converted, or we like create a simple like test cases to be like a guideline for them. And we start running the smoke test in every BR. So in this point also for the process, this is like force process. So we enforce, or we put it like a stage here or gate, that in every code change or in every BR, we need to run the UI test. So we are running the unit test or building the application. Then we are running a unit test. Then we will build our test application and run the UI test. And if we have any problem in this, or if the build is not green, so we need to figure out, or we need to check what the problem. Then the mobile engineers partially start writing a TS script, and we set up a code review process between the TA and the mobile engineers, because here the mobile engineers are writing TA scripts, and we need to ensure that the TA scripts is mapped to the manual test case. So now we need one review from the TA engineers, and also they need one review from the developers or mobile engineers. If I am writing a TA script, if I'm test engineer and writing TA script, so they need also to check the code review, or the implementation is go through our guidelines and our code standard and so on. So here we have two eyes, one from TA and one from the developers. So we set up our code review process between the TA and mobile engineers. Then if we start mapping this to our mobile CI, so at the beginning we start, as I mentioned, we start like smaller, and we start step by step. So at the beginning we just implement mobile CI with our new CI server. So we start just implement one, or this is the phase one. We start pushing the code, build the application for test, run the unit test, and run the UI test. This is like a simple workflow without any other or any additional steps or anything at the beginning. Just a simple or like a beginning workflow. Then we will go to the second phase, it's keeping the promise. So we set up everything at the beginning phase. We agreed about everything. We start dealing together and test automation. And so mobile engineers start writing a TA script, and we start working with the application. If we have any problem and don't understand the code, we need to go to the developers and ask them, and so on. Then we are in the phase keeping the promise phase from 6 months to 12 months. And also we're still working with the 3 categories or 3 pillars here. And also with the same, we start like increasing our delivery, or our things that we are doing at our frameworks and our CI/CD pipelines. So also the TA engineers focus more about the test infrastructure. So in this step, we start moving the responsibilities or the ownership for the T scripts to the developers or the mobile engineers. And as a test automation team or test automation engineer, we start to focus more on the mobile test infrastructure, like set up the CI/CD pipelines, check the report solutions, like we need to integrate third-party tool for the reports, for example. We need to running on different devices. We need to run in different configuration. We need to figure out, or we need to find anything related to the test infrastructure. So in this phase, we start to focus more in test infrastructure, develop custom report for test result. So we start thinking about, we need to take care about the test result, because we have different, or we have flaky test cases, and we need to check the screenshots, we need to take the logs, and we need to check anything related to the failure. So we start creating or developing our custom reports for the test result. And in this phase, for the technology, we integrated our reports or our frameworks for Android and iOS with Allo reports. That's like a third-party tool or third-party reports, and it's like including dashboards, a screenshot on failures, and the logs also from our test cases. So we started integrated this with our test automation frameworks. And then we started to refactor the framework to reduce the execution time. We found that we are running the UI test in long time. For example, if you can imagine that when we start, for example, we start with 10 test cases, and these 10 test cases are running in every BR. And the BR, for example, it was taking like 30 minutes. And after that, we found that we are increasing the test cases, and the build time or the BR time is raising also or increasing. So we need to figure out, or we need to like find a solution how we can reduce the execution time. And in this, we start implementing, or we start thinking about, we need to reduce the execution and the build time by parallelization. So we need to run our test cases in parallel on different devices to reduce the time, because if you can imagine, we are now running sequential in one device, and this will take about maybe 20 or 30 minutes just in running the UI test maybe. So the BR, or the time for build the application BR, will be increasing, and the developers start like saying, okay, the BR taking long time and we need to merge our code and so on. So in this case, we start implementing a solution for running the test in parallel. And in parallel here means that we need to split the test suite in different devices, not running the same test in the different devices. For example, if we have here 30 test cases, and we need to run on 5 devices. So in each device, we will run 6 test cases. So this is the parallelization in our case. So we are splitting the test suite in different devices. So to reduce the time. So now we are running the 30 at the same time. And then we selected tools to help us in test parallelization. And in this case, we are using Flank. Flank is a tool. And after that, in our test automation framework, in the next slide, we will get the info about this Flank and how we are implementing it. Increasing the test coverage. So we start increasing the test coverage by increasing or writing more test automation scripts for different countries, because we started with one country, but we need to cover, or we need to run this test cases or the same test cases in different countries. So we start increasing the coverage by running on different or supporting multi-countries. Then run the same UI test on different countries and brands also. So we have, at the beginning, we have 4 brands and 19 or more than 19 countries. So we need to try to run the same test case in different brand and different countries and check what happened if we need to customize the script in this country or in this case, and so on. And start by increasing the test coverage. We start running, or we start implementing the end-to-end test cases, and the smoke test are running now, both running on nightly on the master branch. And the mobile engineers started developing the end-to-end test cases because they take the ownership now from the previous phase, and start deploying or running the end-to-end test cases, or start running the end-to-end or merging the suites for end-to-end to be automated. And they doing it based on their squads. For example, the mobile engineers that in the checkout squad, they will care about or take care about the test cases that like checking the checkout screens, for example, or the scenarios for the checkouts, and also for the payment and the restaurant details and so on. And the new steps added. So we started implementing or appending new steps in our workflow because it was simple at the beginning and it was only CI. So we started adding or implementing new steps for deploying our application for QA engineers or for product owners or for product managers, for example. And we created new workflow for deploying apps to Hockey apps to the QA and MDMs for the releases. So in this case, we configure the pipeline or configure new workflow to deploy the application. So sign the application for Android and iOS, and after that deploy to Hockey app or Microsoft App Center, and to be able or to download it with the QA engineers and also the product owners to check the features, or the next release will continue will contain the features that we developed or not. Then in our CI/CD, this is a phase number 2. This is like a partially. So here we have a partially phases. So we add like sign application, release the application, and upload the application to the Hockey app. And then in the third phases, that's plus 12. So we start to continue. So T engineer continue supporting mobile engineer in testing the new features. Run end-to-end test suite and nightly on the master branch. Run the UI test on the new countries. Configure new report mechanism and sending the result using Slack channels to the mobile engineers to get the info or knowledge about the running. TA engineers continue supporting the QA in releases, and the more TA scripts are added to increase the test coverage, and running all the tests nightly on the release branches. This is like a third, and we still continue with this one. And the new workflow added to deploy to our apps to App Store for our beta customers or our beta users. And here we add 3 or additional steps. This is different workflows, by the way, but I just put it in one to know what we are doing during the phases. Deploy the App Store, Google App Store, publish the test result, sending the result to Slack channels to the developers to get confident or know about the result. And this is information about our test automation frameworks. So I hope that I can cover it in the time. So for Android, we start because we are using Espresso as a native tool. We start working Java and Kotlin as a programming language. For the test type, we are using instrumentation test using Espresso and Robo. This is a monkey test. It was like opening the application and doing random actions on the device. And for the runner, we are running on the Firebase test lab in this configuration on this device, and the Flank, because I mentioned previously in the Flank, this has helped us in parallelization and also in the flakiness. If we have flaky test cases and we need to repeat it, so Flank is repeat or retry the flaky test cases for us. And the Flank is like wrapper or library working only with the Firebase test lab, because that we are using this one for Android. And we are using Android test orchestrator for running barrel and in different splitting a thread for running our UI test. And for reporting, we are using Allo Report as and it's including screenshots, logcats, API calls. And our framework is based on page object pattern, screenshot and failures, feature flags, native and web application, because we have, for example, Facebook login, and we need to switch between web and native view, multi-country support, and the custom test annotations, for example, smoke test and end-to-end and the feature test. And here, for example, this is one test case for a smoke test. So, and it is the test cases with the feature flag. And here we are enabling the flag before we are running the test. So we are set this flag or this feature before we running the test. And also we are using like a small steps or page object to running this test scripts. And also this one for different countries. So here we are passing the countries, like here we are running in Bangladesh, Taiwan, Malaysia, and the Philippines and Pakistan. So we will ignore these countries with this test case, and we will run only in one country, for example, Hong Kong, and also this also the test case. And for iOS, we have like also we are using Swift as a programming language. For test type, so only UI function, because until now there is no any robot test for iOS. And for test framework, we are using XCUITest, and we are running using Fastlane and the Multiscan. Also, Multiscan is one plugin for Fastlane for parallelization and flakiness also. And the reporting, we are using Allo reports and XCHTML reports for displaying the screenshot and the logs. And for test automation framework, also we are using page object pattern accessibility IDs to be able to find the element in the application, a screenshot on failure, multi-country support, a feature flag, and different schema. So also it's the same like Android. And also here, this is a feature flag or sample iOS with feature flag. So we are enabling the feature at the beginning, and we start running. Also, we have here like straightforward steps to go to the one screen, and including this function, there is different steps. And this is like a quick. I think yeah, I think I don't have time. Maybe we can just like a quick info about our workflow. So I will finalize it in 1 minute. So our Android CI, so this is like a workflow. We are using Bitrise. This is our CI/CD platform. So from any code change, we are trigger the webhook for Bitrise, building the application, because here we are building two applications. One, the application under test itself, and the application or the test APK. So we are building the application for UI test, running the UI test in Firebase test lab using Flank for parallelization, getting the artifacts and the result and sending it to Slack channel and upload it to S3 Bitbucket to generating Allo reports. And after that, sending the result to S3 Bitbucket. And then this is different. So this is a CI or CD workflow. Signing the application, deploy the application to Microsoft App Center. Previously, it was Hockey App to QA and the product managers. And for the beta deployment, this is a different workflow for Google Play Store and the customers. This is like a simple workflow. And this is the alerting notification. So we are sending Slack notification, reporting for Allo reports. And this is the idea about if you found this is a screenshot in error, and this is the idea about the reporting. And you can here access this report from this link from the Slack channel. And just as, at the end, this is what next. So we are start focusing more about we need to create a dashboard for our test results. We need to working on continuous deployment, so without any human interaction, because at the end, we need to just from the code change, we need to deploy the application to Apple Store or to Google Play Store. We start thinking about implementing machine learning and artificial intelligence in test. Maybe it will help us in the scriptless testing. So we don't need to write all the test script, just we can like creating one tool to help us in this one. And the lesson learning, so mobile engineers and T engineers are one team building a better relationship. Quality is more important than quantity or speed. DevOps is the mindset, not the tools, and the customers are the center of everything. So thank you. And as we know, journey never ends, and we start continuous and learning from our implementation, and we start continuous in our platform. So thank you, and sorry for this long time.